And now let's begin. So the topic of our today's discussion is how human capital drives innovation, building collaborations within ecosystems. This is a very important topic that has been discussed over the last decade, but with the development of the technology, with the development of AI, of course, this is one of the most trendy discussions that we have. And today's speakers represent different backgrounds, so I'm sure that we're going to have a very productive discussion. So let me first introduce our speakers. Our first speaker is Mrs. Banu Narbekova. She will be joining us online. She is Deputy Chairman of the Committee of Higher and Postgraduate Education of the Ministry of Science and Higher Education of the Republic of Kazakhstan. Our next speaker is Mr. Anwar Jangozin. He is CEO of Nazarbayev Intellectual Schools. Then we also have here Mr. Rafael Trepka, General Manager for Central Asia of MasterCard. We have Gabit Bekakhmetov, CEO of Maruf Education, Cambridge, UK, and Paradigm Shift. And last but not least, we have Mr. Badr Boussabat, Head of Marketing World Alliance of International Centers and President of AI Together. So round of applause for our speakers. Thank you. And let's begin with Mrs. Banu Narbekova. And the question would be how government is supporting the development of human capital, innovation, and development of ecosystems. Бану, я надеюсь, что вы нас слышите. У нас вы подключаетесь онлайн. Мы готовы к вашему выступлению и с нетерпением ждем. Бану Макатаевна, вы нас слышите? Ну, по крайней мере, мы видим уже картинку. И думаю, скоро услышим. Да, ну, да, нам тут говорят, что, как говорится, мы все живем, да, в цифровом мире, всякое бывает с технологиями, поэтому давайте мы пока перейдем к следующему спикеру и вернемся потом к нашему министерству, чтобы узнать о позиции государства. So, we have here very interesting person, mentor for many of startuppers and IT specialists, Mr. Gabit. And my question to you would be regarding ecosystems, because ecosystem is a very complex body where different components need to blend with each other and need to cooperate, even though sometimes they don't want to cooperate. So what would be the secret sauce to ensure that blending, that cross-pollination, and how to make sure that ecosystems develop successfully and become a very good soil for innovation?
Yeah, I think one of the key stages in current innovation development in Kazakhstan is that we still think that there has to be a lot of very specialized institutions that specifically work on innovations, but what usually happens is that innovations sometimes emerge from very unexpected places. And because of my experience of working in schools and in creating this kind of education ecosystems, what we notice is that sometimes basically you just have students, high school students, even driving innovations. So we think that it has to be collaboration between sort of adults and all these people, but if you come to think of it, the smartest people in this country are high school students. That's right. Because they're smartest because they all remain here. Well, I mean, they're still here, and after they graduate, they start going to all those universities like MIT or in Moscow or in Hong Kong and all over the world. And it's really shameful that we actually don't give those students opportunities to participate in those innovation activities. So what happens is that we sort of focus on at a much later stage, when they're juniors or seniors at universities, and even that I think we only see mostly at Nazarbayev University and more recently in places like Kazakh British Technical University and Suleiman Demirel University in Almaty. And so it's kind of an emerging trend, but I feel like we need to change our assumptions a little bit and give more opportunities to the young people. And I think even here we have a student from National School of Physics and Math, and he just won $500,000 from Microsoft to support his startup. Yeah, Arsen, I think it's here. So these kind of things, I feel like we should be open to experiment with innovations and expect them from the most unexpected places. And Yandex, surprisingly, was actually very astute about it, because about 6 years ago, what we started doing a very interesting collaboration with Yandex. We were one of the first high schools here to introduce like genuine, almost like very similar, almost an internship program from Yandex for high school students. And the results were just mind-blowing. And what happens now is this cross-pollination of ideas. It looks like in the beginning all this, you know, in Kazakhstan people are very competitive. They're like ready to destroy each other sometimes. You know, all these companies, they're like fierce, like nomads, right? But then, however, it's still inevitable that all this, you cannot sort of limit the ideas from flowing from one company to the other. So what we see, the emerging trend is that more and more people are just like, even if they compete with each other, they're exchanging those people and ideas, and it's actually bringing amazing results, because one idea can manifest itself in different forms at different companies, and it can produce like really interesting outcomes. And what for example, Anwar here, he's a FISMAT graduate, but he works as a CEO of Nazarbayev Intellectual Schools. I'm a Bilim Innovation Lyceum graduate, but I worked as a CEO for National Schools of Physics and Math, and we have lots of cases like this. And what happened, I think what's really cool is like during the last 2 years, what we see is that all these people, for example, coming from Russia, coming from Ukraine, they're also adding their, you know, contributions to all this innovation activity. And I think if we can maintain this kind of collaboration, this kind of dialogue, I think the results can be really interesting. However, one sad thing that I noticed is that we treat the rural areas as if there can be no innovation there. And I think even the fact that most of those rural areas are automatically controlled by the Ministry of Agriculture sort of makes, you know, is wrong, because the assumption is that basically all they can do is agriculture, and that's 40% of the population. And I think what would really be cool if all these villages in the rural areas, if they could be somehow pulled into this innovation activity. And because these people, they're like, you know, they're not like us, they're not confined to the small apartments, living somewhere in those air bubbles, you know. They actually like experience nature, and they have a lot of time for thinking. They don't do this like clipped thinking kind of stuff. So I hope that will be a new trend.
Thank you very much. And speaking about the development of rural areas, to be honest, sometimes when I think at Kazakhstan, it seems like all the innovation is concentrated in Astana and Almaty, and even our regions are suffering from lack of infrastructure for the development of innovation. This is why we're at Astana Hub, are working now on the opening of regional hubs. But to continue, you mentioned that important point of developing that innovative thinking starting from the school years. And I think that Nazarbayev Intellectual Schools is one of the very successful cases where graduates, teenagers, they start their own startups, they participate in different competitions. So my question would be, what is the role of school in that in the creation of that innovative mindset? And is it just the school that is responsible, or is it a combination of several factors? And how to select the best educational approach when you want to develop talents? Anwar, this question is for you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So, well, being a person who represents secondary education, I will probably share some thoughts on how actually schools can be a platform to develop innovations, to foster future innovators. And it's probably currently sort of spread vision and understanding that schools should not be factories of standardization. They rather must be platforms for innovations, some fruitful grounds which develop innovative ideas, creative thinking. And to actually achieve this goal, the first step, I would say, should be the fostering environment of shared vision and goals, which is quite important from my point of view and from the experience which has Nazarbayev intellectual schools, because by this we actually can provide like understanding of each of the members of school community of where schools actually is going, which kind of goals are in the focus of the school. And if we consider also this from economic perspective, actually when we have these shared values and shared vision, it does affect very much the trust among this community. And there is a recent research on the influence of trust on economic development of countries. The research by two economists, French economists, Algan and Kayuk, called Inherited Trust and Growth, where they actually considered development of different countries and how trust actually influences this development. So they found out that, for example, in Sweden there is the highest level of trust among society, yeah? And if enduring the same kind of level of trust in Kazakhstan or in other post-Soviet countries will endure at least 50% growth of the GDP for Kazakhstan and post-Soviet countries, which is quite important, which shows that trust can actually influence not only innovations but also social and economic development of countries. And I think that we have to distribute this understanding starting from schools, that trust and which grows from shared vision and shared mission statements, etc., is very important. It was quite sort of not so easy for us when we started to build the network of Nazarbayev intellectual schools to establish this understanding, because it's not part of our traditions that each school should form vision, mission, statement. But when our school started this process of obtaining international accreditation, it became clear that it should be in place, because the starting point of international accreditation is that actually school community should form vision, mission, value statement, yeah, and it should be in place, and it should be distributed among school community. The second step towards ensuring the innovative environment in schools, I would say, is probably professional level of teachers, yeah. And here I would refer to quite famous book, Professional Capital, by two famous educators, Fullan and Hargreaves, where they actually consider this concept of professional capital, which comprises of three key elements. It's human capital, social capital, and decisional capital. So human capital relates to abilities, skills, talents of individual teachers. Social capital involves this communication and collective work created by teachers working together. And decisional capital is about judgment developed through time of practice and reflection. And all of this means that the more qualified teachers we have, the more autonomy and the more opportunities for collaboration we provide them, the greater are chances that we will have innovative environment in our schools. And I would assume that this concept of professional capital can be applied not only to educational but other organizations as well. And the third, final but equally important step for me is infrastructure, of course, because innovations, they cannot really prosper without the right tools. So in this regard, schools, they should be equipped with science labs, with all new technologies, libraries, creative areas. We also paid a lot of attention to this when we started to build Nazarbayev intellectual schools, because the environment should foster exploration and invention. And we sort of succeeded in this, as I think, because, for example, 250 students of Nazarbayev intellectual schools, they already applied and received different patents and copyrights for their works and even for inventions, which is quite a good result, I think. Speaking about these rural schools and rural territories, we have quite important and interesting project now where when NIS schools, they collaborate with rural schools, providing some methodological support for these schools. At the moment, we have like 17 schools in all over Kazakhstan, in every region. But in following 3 years, there will be almost 200 schools, rural schools covered by this project. And what is important that each of these schools is equipped with STEM science labs, with libraries, with all necessary infrastructure, with the support to the people of Kazakhstan Foundation. And we already see results of this work, that even like students from rural schools, they already started some projects in robotics, in technology, in engineering. So I think if like given that we have in the audience people from like different organizations, supporting schools in this so that they can actually create this creative and innovative environment, I think it's where each of representatives can support the schools, and I think it's quite important work. So this is kind of
Thank you very much, and a round of applause for creating new generation, of raising new generation of innovators, and the results are really, really impressive. We have Banu Makataevna back to us. Banu Makataevna, вы нас слышите?
Banu, can you hear us? We can see you. And we would like to give the floor to you for you to speak on behalf of the Ministry of Science and Higher Education, how the state works on the development of innovative ecosystems and the development of human capital. Thank you. Good afternoon, dear participants, dear moderator. Of course, it's well known that higher education recent years has been working on different events, plans, or forums which are connected with the development of human capital. Since you are aware that in the modern world we have a lot of challenges, and one of them is the training of personnel for higher education in order for them to comply with tendencies and challenges which exist in the world. A few years ago, a study was conducted where 50% of citizens of Kazakhstan showed low level of innovativeness, or that they do not have the innovative potential. It's one of the challenges which drives the higher education to study and to take into account while they train human capital those new technologies, for example, artificial intelligence, when it's important to prepare personnel with interdisciplinary skills. We speak a lot about universal skills, soft skills, or professional skills, but despite higher education, like you all know, a few months ago, they developed a new concept, and this concept is focused on our opportunities to improve our potential up to 2029 in the higher education and the science. And of course, the main goal of the higher education is to expand the access to good higher education, and these tasks are being implemented recent years, and we see good results. But moreover, it's very important to improve the potential of universities themselves. What did we do? We have launched a project on the development of the Center of Academic mastership. It means that we want to modernize our universities, taking into account our current technologies. They are new laboratories. It's the connection of the science and the studies with the educational process. You are all aware that our university science is quite developed, and our teachers benefit the development of the science. Today, it's very important to modernize educational programs themselves, and our colleagues know that we launched the register of educational programs. It means that the quality of educational programs are being improved. It's the connection with employers. Moreover, we understand that this year the Marshallese will develop the law on additional qualifications for our graduates could improve their competencies and skills. And of course, it's a huge responsibility for our universities. And today we are talking about advanced development of our personnel. So we are focusing on the needs not only at the national level, but at the regional level. A few regions use good experience and practices based on foresight studies and the focused which look for new professions in the regions when our regional universities can rely on the needs of the regions in order to train specialists for the regions. And this program is focused on synchronization of the labor market with education. And I would like to say that recent years we focus our careful attention to the science. You know that Kazakhstan, based on the current situation, takes not so high positions in the high ratings in the field of science and innovations. You know that in Global Innovation Index in 2022, Kazakhstan takes 83rd place out of 132 countries. It's this level is not sufficient, and the latest reform which is made, different measures on the development of science and finances of the science, and we can see very good support from the government, from the state, from the president. That is why I think it's very important to prepare our joint projects together with the science. And I think that we focus our attention to the integration of the science and education, and different trainings are conducted in these directions. And you know that one of the innovations in the end, I would like to note that it's the launch of the affiliate offices in our country of top universities. First of all, here we want to exchange the best practices. For our citizens of Kazakhstan could receive very good education, and here our exchange with American and European universities gives the opportunity to develop innovations and human capital. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Banu. Indeed, I think that we all who work in the higher education system, we can prove that different changes happen in the world, that the universities of Kazakhstan develop dynamically. But like they say,
Но, как говорится, рано или поздно we talked a lot about high school students, we talked a lot about university students, but at the end of the day, they have to either get their job places or start their own companies and have their clients, and this is where corporations play a very important role. And apart from that, corporations are now trendsetters in internal innovation development and human capital development, so we are very lucky to have today Mr. Rafael Trepka, General Manager of MasterCard in Central Asia, and I would like to ask you a question: how MasterCard develops internal innovation, and how do you work with external innovators?
Ирина, большое спасибо. English or Russian? English. Если будут вопросы, потом можем тоже на русском. So let me. Good question. And by the way, human capital, человеческий капитал, он очень важный, и несколько уже сегодня.
It's very important, and we have heard about it for a few times, and from the administration of the president. So, okay, if we will look at Kazakhstan.
Looking at Kazakhstan and the whole region, I think it's so important to, the potential is here and the growth is here. Because I come originally from part of Europe, and there I cannot say that society is dying, but certainly is much older than this part of the world. So I would say that's something what these countries can be really proud of, is the whole human capital, at least even from the age perspective and the potential that countries are having. I mean, close to 50% of the Kazakhstan society is let's say, around 30 or below 30. If I recall properly the numbers, around 40% is 25. Very, very young society. Average age is not 40, 45, but it's around 30 years of age. So it's super important. Also from education, from our area, when we talk about the MasterCard more as a technology company which delivers services to financial institutions, we look at the all IT at the STEM, so science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and we've also heard that, let's say, as soon as possible, around 100 million people, 100,000 people shall be prepared in the IT industry in Kazakhstan. That's also coming from the presidential agenda. So I would say, first thing, the fundamentals are super good in Kazakhstan and the region. By the way, it's similar in Uzbekistan or Kyrgyzstan or other countries. So that's, I would say, Kazakhstan is already in the, let's say, upfront position. They're looking directly from MasterCard. Let me split it into the three parts, just to keep it even more easy. So you ask about internal. So internally, yes, I mean, we have a lot of different courses. Whoever joins MasterCard, usually first he goes through something like a MasterCard Academy and a lot of different courses, both on the hard skills, so more professional skills, technology and others, but also a lot of soft skills as well. And what I see, by the way, we have really developed what we promised. We are going to develop our hub in Kazakhstan, and we have done that. We have already employed quite a lot of local people, and I'm already sure that these people who have joined our team already became different people than when they were joining. And it's more from the approach perspective. They have amazing good knowledge, but it's more how you approach certain things. So, for example, we have, like as I mentioned, this MasterCard Academy. Usually, people are getting their coaches, mentors, buddies. So some are usually working with another person to also keep developing. That's very, very important. If somebody wants to try new things, we have sandboxes, we have laboratories and other where people can simply join with their project. We have other project called Unlock, so simply unlock your potential in other projects as well. If you really wish, you can have international assignments. I'm also this, let's say, lucky one that I got a great Kazakhstan, and I can be here and enjoy food, people relationship, and conferences, and many others. So internally, and again, global companies. So that gives a lot of parts. But more important, how we capitalize on that. You know, so it's more how we look from the values perspective. And I'm not really purely looking at the corporate values, but something what we always share with people. So firstly, I mention again youth, so empower youth. Very, very important, and we keep sharing with our colleagues, do well by doing good. So yes, from the business perspective, we are okay, but always at the same time, what you can share. And then, let me then leapfrog to the second part, external, as you Alina mentioned, and split it into the two parts. So purely the business relationships, but also society. And I think society here is even more important. On the business side, so of course our main partners are banks, are different type of the payment institutions, overall the whole payment ecosystem. So then again, we share with them a lot about products, about card products, debit card, credit cards, digital version of all these products, cyber and intelligence, safety, security, and of course all of these new things which are coming, artificial intelligence, Web3 null, how it is being, we just finished the session about blockchain, about crypto. It's all about, let's say, sharing from all these best practices across. Of course, these partners can also join, for example, programs like MasterCard Academy. We do dedicated sessions for them, both on the soft and the hard skills. So I think their cooperation with the banks is working pretty well, and that's pretty established model. But then it was also a question for myself, which I was raising when I, let's say, landed here in the region, in the market. What else can we do more for the society? And then let's go with a bit with the age. So certainly what you can do for kids, and a lot of you have kids, and I have my own, very, very important. That's the part which you probably take care the most. And what we realized that to talk by parents, to talk with their kids about, for example, technology, usually about some professional topic, it's difficult. Parents may not know it, so usually they don't talk, and it's easier to, whatever, call it, complain or leave it with the teachers. So then what we said, okay, fine, technology, as I said, 100,000 shall be educated, how you do it. And by the way, you have to change some habits. So we have heard as well from the ministry, it's more about how do you change with the habits, with the approach in Kazakhstan. And you have to start from a very, very early age. If you don't do it, that's easiest. It's the same like, with any sport or anything else. So talking about technology is difficult. By the way, what we have also realized, this is unfortunate, in this region, not only in this region, to talk with girls about technology sometimes does not fit the culture. So for example, in this case, yes, we have a program which is like Kids in Technology, but we deployed it as a Girls for Technology. In this case. By the way, you can go to the website Girls for Tech, just not the word but the number, girlsfortech.com. By the way, it's already translated into Kazakh as well. And it's more about the kids from the age of, let's say, 8, 12, which is already teaching about, for example, cryptology, all things digital, about cyber and intelligence in a very simple way. The logic is that once later the person will be deciding about the studies, let's say 6 years, 8 years, whatever years later, they say, oh, by the way, I had this fun course, and I remember technology was very useful. Okay? So these are the programs which we are deploying. We made some tests here in Kazakhstan. We will be expanding B2B and also to the market. We've done this in Uzbekistan, also interesting lessons learned from Uzbekistan from that. So that's the very early age. 2 more, and then it's a question. Okay, fine. Then you go to studies. So what you can do, and we actually profile and customize some projects for Kazakhstan. So we have started cooperation with universities, also with the different students organizations. One of them is ISEC, international organization in Kazakhstan. But there is Nazarbayev. Last time we had the projects at the Turan University in Almaty. It was like 2 weeks ago. There was a top talents. So it was the same. Like, okay, what we can do for students, but more like share and a bit of educate on the process. So for example, 3 weeks ago, we ran within the 1 week a bit of event competition about the top talents program. We gave them the project, but just, almost like where you can copy this process later on. So you said, analyze the market, think about some certain developments, different projects, and have a roadmap of implementation. If you have that later on, doesn't matter what kind of products or service you drop, which markets you pick up, it's literally you can copy paste to other ones. By the way, if somebody is finishing, I don't mind if somebody is adding to the LinkedIn profile MasterCard logo, and that I already see it helps a lot. So that's on the student. Last but not least, later on people start working. Of course, you can work for the corporate, you can work for other companies, you can very easily open your own business. So it's a lot of education for the SME, for the small, medium enterprises. We see how the GDP in Kazakhstan is being developed, whatever, something around 33% of GDP coming from SME, preferably it should be 35, 37, maybe closer to 40. So the same, how we can help the SMEs move towards e-commerce. By the way, not only sell in Kazakhstan, the market is, let's say, unlimited, so how you can sell abroad and others. So that's the other. Very shortly, I'm happy to answer later the questions, but as I'm saying, internally, good fundamentals, something what we can do further on with the business, which anyway we do and connect the project. And at the end, I think that's like the most fulfilling and what's the biggest joy and smile, what you can do for the society.
Thank you very much, Rafael, and special thanks for that initiative for Girls for Tech. It's very important, especially here in Kazakhstan, where unfortunately still we have underrepresentation of women in tech. So let's move on to our next speaker, who is Mr. Badr Busabat, president of AI Together, and I think AI now is one of the most discussed topics when we don't know, is AI a threat or is AI a help? Will it replace human? Will we become so lazy that we just delegate everything to AI? Or is it a tool that helps boost innovation? So these are the questions that arise in our minds today, and I hope, Badr, that you would help us to answer them. The floor is yours.
Hello, thank you very much for the invitation. Actually, of course, artificial intelligence is a hot topic. In this era of technological advancement, there are growing concerns about the potential replacement of humans by artificial intelligence, including in education. However, I stand here to stress, to emphasize that AI does not replace humans. Artificial intelligence is not replacing humans. Instead, it will have the remarkable potential to enhance our cognitive abilities in the field of education. And in my point of view, the right way to do so is about promoting collaboration between artificial intelligence and humans. And this will lead to a creation of transformative opportunities for students, for educators, for professors, and so on. Till today, there is no demonstration of human replacement by artificial intelligence. And this is something we need to keep in mind. There are also several cases that demonstrate that artificial intelligence is actually something that's gonna enhance, empower the learning process. Let's go through several cases, concrete cases, in order to better understand what I have been talking about. We can of course refer to the augmented teaching and personalized learning. Artificial intelligence enables personalized learning experiences by adapting content and teaching methods to individual students. And actually, professors can utilize AI-powered tools because please do not forget that artificial intelligence is just a tool. It's not something created ex nihilo that is going to put human in a very risky or difficult situation in terms of importance in the job industry. Yes, and artificial intelligence, professor can use AI-powered tools to analyze student data. It's going to identify knowledge gaps and provide tailored interventions. This empowers, this enhance teachers to focus on individual support, mentorship, and the cultivation, of critical thinking. In my point of view, I know for several people, not all of you, ChatGPT might be a threat in terms of learning and so on. But actually, ChatGPT is going to be a tool that's going to incentivize students and people to better focus on the real intelligence of people. What's real intelligence? It's asking the right question. You know, when you go through the most eminent books in philosophy, I can mention, for example, Al-Farabi. We are today also in a room called Al-Farabi. We have Al-Farabi, we have Immanuel Kant, we have Descartes, we have Spinoza, we have Ibn Rushd, and so on. They all structure their ideas and the intellectual knowledge through the process of questioning. It's not about finding the right answer. It's about asking the right question. And meaning that we are more likely now to understand the situation, to have a higher level view on the situation. I can mention students, but even professor, thanks to the use of artificial intelligence and let's say, tools like ChatGPT. Let me also go through another specific case um, that also tell us more about how artificial intelligence is going to support human being on a daily basis. I can mention the advanced data analytics for insights. It allows professors to leverage advanced data analytics to gain insights into students' performance. We can also mention engagement and learning patterns. By analyzing large amounts, vast amounts of data, artificial intelligence can provide actionable insights that's gonna inform the professor, that's gonna inform instructional decisions, and also targeted interventions support. Professors in general will use these insights to adapt their teaching strategies and improve learning outcomes. Because as we may know, it's very difficult to manage a classroom when you have more than 20 pupils, 20 students in front of you. It's very difficult to target the gaps of each student. That's why artificial intelligence is the right tool to better adapt to the lesson. And consequently, and we can imply the following aspect. When it comes to analyzing data and using data, utilizing data in this process, it means also that the professor will gain higher responsibility during his lessons or her lessons. Why? Because actually, when you have data around you, you can use. Actually, you need to better pay attention to the utilization of these data because it is linked and it is about students' privacy concerns. So, in the era of artificial intelligence developments, professors will gain in terms of importance. So, AI again demonstrates, I just demonstrate right now with this concrete case, that artificial intelligence is not going to replace any professor at all. It's just going to support the professor in teaching. I can also mention another case. Thanks to artificial intelligence, we're gonna also empower professors on a daily basis. Um, as you may know, professors are sometimes focused on very time-consuming tasks, like for example, corrections. Thanks to artificial intelligence, it's gonna relieve teachers of administrative burdens such as grading and paperwork, and it's gonna allow them to dedicate more time to instruction and student support. Artificial intelligence can also support professional development because it will offer personalized learning path for education and providing access to resources. So, in a nutshell, I have been going through several cases to demonstrate why artificial intelligence is not a threat. But, you know, in general, out of the education industry, actually, the one who they're gonna replace humans in the job industry are going to be the people who are going to use artificial intelligence to better perform on a daily basis. Do not forget this, please do not forget this specific aspect. Artificial intelligence is a tool. We have been facing many innovation in history. We have this spontaneous reaction to come against innovation and technology because it's new and this is something we need to understand. But now, with the growing importance of artificial intelligence around us, because we use artificial intelligence application on a daily basis, sometimes without knowing it. But today, in education, artificial intelligence is good news. Artificial intelligence is not going to replace humans. Artificial intelligence is not going to replace professors, but it's gonna empower them by using artificial intelligence technology. Professor will finally leverage their real expertise and experience, while artificial intelligence complements their efforts to create more personalized, inclusive, and effective learning environments. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and this round of applause is for you. And indeed, I like the idea that you said that artificial intelligence is not going to replace humans, but those who can use artificial intelligence are going to replace those who cannot. So we have a couple of minutes left, so what I would suggest is to take this time for networking. So please, another round of applause for our speakers. That was very interesting information, and I really hope that everybody got some of the very practical, useful ideas for themselves. And now let's talk, let's connect, let's meet each other, and thank you for having your time and coming here today to listen to us and to speak to us. Thank you.